second thing I'm going to be talking about today is something that is near and dear for my heart. Have you ever been on YouTube and checked out these expensive Japanese fruit videos? I do it all the time. And I'm like, man, I wonder what those taste like. But the other day, of course, my marketing brain is always like, dude, how can someone pay so much money for fruits like these? In fact, last year, someone in Japan paid 45,000 US dollars for a pair of cantaloupes. Can you believe that? Yes, you heard right. $45,000 for a pair of cantaloupes. So I don't know, when I was watching this video about someone paying that much, I started thinking like, dude, why would anyone want to pay that much for a pair of melons? And so I actually spent last week just searching for that exact answer, and I finally found it. So if you want to know the secret behind charging 10,000 times more for the same type of fruit that you can find at a local supermarket, then read on or watch this video. So there was three things that really kind of stood out to me, and they build on top of each other. And the third reason is the most impactful as well. So let's kind of dive into it. So first things first, there's already an existing market demand in Japan. So imagine this. If you tried selling 5-figure fruit in Japan, how do you think that would turn out? Would it sell? Most likely not. It probably would not sell whatsoever. And as mentioned in this classic copywriting book, Breakthrough Advertising, it's one of my favorite books on copywriting, positioning out there. You can't create desire for a product, right? But what you can do is really focus on the existing desires of the market and bridge the gap onto a particular product, right? So you can't just create desire out of thin air. There's no magic pill of making you desire something that you don't really care about. Like if I found a piece of dog turd out there, would you really want that? Probably not. There's no desire for that. Just to give you an idea of the Japanese market, in Japan, premium fruits are typically sent as gifts. So it's not uncommon to spend $100 to $1,000 just for a present, right? For especially formal occasions like weddings, business transactions, hospital visits, those type of things as well. While this explains the high demand for high-end premium fruits in the Japanese market, it still doesn't explain why people will pay 5 figures for fruit, which leads me to my second point over here. There are 4 grades of quality when it comes in terms of high-end fruit in Japan. So if there were 2 pieces of fruit in front of you, right? Could you tell the difference between the two? And if so, how would you go about telling the difference? Something that sometimes we forget is that we have to keep in mind this is a natural product. This is a product of nature. And Mother Nature doesn't tell us that there are 4 grades. It's human made. You gotta realize, a human like you and me, they created these 4 tiers of fruits in Japan. So if you want a breakdown of the 4 fruits of Japan, here they are from lowest to highest. So we have Yuki, which is automatically thrown if there's any minor defects with the fruit. We got Shiro, which is 55% of the fruit, Yama, which is 25% of fruit, and Fuji, which is 0.1% of fruit, meaning 1 in every 1,000, I think that's right, will be a Fuji grade of fruit, which is crazy. And so if you're wondering what the difference between Shiro, Yama, and Fuji, honestly, I could only find like a high level, and it really depends on the physical appearance of the fruit and also the sugar content of the fruit as well. You might be asking yourself, why would anybody classify these grades? Well, by classifying these fruits in particular grades and having percentages nearby it builds this concept of scarcity. And think about it, right? Imagine if you got your hands on a Fuji fruit. Wouldn't that feel like winning the lottery? Now, I probably argue that most people would probably be a lot happier winning the lottery, but you kind of understand the point, right? And so that's one way to add scarcity, but that's not all. Imagine if you can stack it with other factors to increase the scarcity or exclusivity of this one fruit. For example, have you ever heard of a white strawberry before? I haven't until I started binge watching all these Japanese fruit videos on YouTube, right? There is a Japanese fruit called the white jewel strawberry, and apparently only 10% stay white jewels after exposure to the sun. So what they do with these fruit is actually grow it in a dark area and then they expose it for a little bit of time, and only 10% will stay that white beautiful color. How did the Japanese come up with that? No freaking clue. But my point is, imagine a Fuji grade type of white jewel. I don't know if those exist, by the way, but think about it. Think about how rare that would be and how much people would pay for it in an existing market where gift giving is already done a lot. But let's kind of take a step back again and ask ourselves, so what? We have a rare piece of fruit. Does this really justify the 45K price tag? And this leads me to the last piece of the puzzle, which is the main secret of charging that 10,000x price of the normal strawberry. This is the last point. High-end fruits require a high level of intimacy. Okay, so let's take two pieces of fruits, right? Just like we did last time, right? And you need to pick one for a wedding or a business gift that is multi-million-dollar type of thing as well, right? So we got melon 1 over here. It's mass produced, sprayed with pesticides. When it's time to harvest, they're tossed in your cardboard box, thrown on a truck. At the Asian supermarket, you not only need to check for bruises, but you also need to fight old Asian grandmas for the non-bruised fruits. Think about it like this. This is like most fruit in the US, by the way. So, well, let's categorize this as melon 1. Melon 2, okay, so these melons are grown in a controlled environment where they're grown on, not in the ground, but they're grown on raised beds. Why? So the individual farmers can actually water these plants and control the exact amount of water each plant gets. Now, after being watered, these farmers, they'll put on these gloves, these white gloves, and they will massage these melons daily with their white gloves. In fact, they actually go through a lot of pairs of white gloves just massaging these melons. And after this massage treatment, these melons are also wrapped in white paper to protect the melon from the sun and sun damage. And so when they're ready for harvest, they're not just thrown in a cardboard box. They're put in an individual presentation box, probably on a pillow of something like silk or something, and presented to its buyer. Which one would you buy for that one-time special event? And more importantly, why? See, the truth is, the unique selling proposition of a $45,000 melon isn't the physical characteristics of the sugar content. Actually, no one cares about that. What sells the $45,000 melon is the story and process of how this product is created and the level of intimacy required to produce that product. It's really, really important. Think about the most expensive, other than melons, think about things like cars, the exclusivity of cars. So imagine if you gifted these melons to someone that you really cared about, how do you think it would make them feel receiving such a gift of high intimacy? And think about yourself, the one receiving that gift. How would it make you feel receiving a fucked up fruit thrown in a cardboard box versus a silk bed that has a really unique characteristic about it? It's been high intimacy with the melon versus the presentation of a melon being placed in an individual box on a silk bed. Which one would you choose? Now this is the real product behind marketing. It's not only just selling something for 10,000x its price, is really giving meaning to the products for the customers receiving them. And this is true whether you're talking about expensive melons, you're talking about expensive pens, or even at the port, if you're buying a Porsche. If you ever get a chance to go to a Porsche Experience Center, take a look at it. It's a great lesson on marketing because there is a high intimacy for every single luxury product. And if you sell a luxury product, ask yourself, do you have that level of storytelling of that high intimacy as well? So if you guys are interested in marketing and positioning, some resources I would check out. The first resource I would check out is Getting Everything You Can Out of All You Got by Jay Abraham. He's one of the masters at positioning and marketing. And also I would check out Breakthrough Advertising by Eugene Schwartz. This book is very rare, very hard to find actually. It went out of print, and Eugene Schwartz is no longer with us anymore. So that is a really great book, but very dense, not for beginners whatsoever. And if you want a nice freebie type of content, check out the Boron Letters by Gary Halbert. Those are really interesting. I might review those next week, but it's really a school of hard knocks in copywriting. So if you like someone who these letters were written in prison to his son, and talks about life and business and marketing. So definitely check that out. And finally, if you want to dip your toes into marketing, you want a solid foundation, because books are great, but honestly, it's hard to learn the modern day principles of marketing. Check out my friend Rich and Niche. He has his full stack marketing academy. Link will be in the description as well. But that is the power of marketing. So if you want to learn how to make more money, or learn how to sell something at a higher level, then you better brush up on your copywriting and marketing. All right, the third thing that I'm going to be talking about is my guilty pleasure this week. Have you ever spent the whole weekend watching the most random thing? You took a step back and you're like, why am I watching